Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, Alderman Fisher.
Present.
Alderman Mayfield.
Present?
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Markham. Alderman Reynolds.
Here.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have one line item. It's executive session 5 ILCS 122 C12, establishment of reserved or settlement of claim, and 5 ILCS 122 C2, collective bargaining. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Roll call?
Alderman Fisher.
Aye.
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham. Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
We'll be going into executive session, and we'll be coming back out soon, hopefully. PR committee meeting, roll call?
Alderman Fisher.
Aye.
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to close Human Resources and PR committee meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Roll call?
Alderman Fisher.
Aye.
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, Human Resource and PR Committee meeting is closed. Like to open up Public Safety Committee meeting. Roll call?
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have one line item, discussion of Blackboard Connect. Dale Urban will present this.
Thank you, Alderman.
Welcome, Dale.
I sent over in your packets a letter composed on the use of our Blackboard Connect system, also known as robocalling. I think most people are well-versed, and I brought this up a few years back on the utilization of it. When the city first entered into the contract to use it, was primarily for a emergency notification. Over the years, we feel the utilization has turned towards more meetings and outreach programs instead of emergency notification. And in the packet, you'll find I pulled some data up that was available. Some of the meetings didn't come up. But generally, what we're finding is a lot of the citizens are opting out because they feel that, I don't know what they're feeling, but they're opting out of the program because maybe they feel like the calls are nuisance. That poses a great concern for myself as a city manager because, as you can see on the last page of your packet, over the last 2 emergency notifications that were made, only 9 of our residents opted out. Or, I'm sorry, 4 of our residents. So out of all those contacted, which is close to 10,000 people, only 2 per call opted out. On the contrary, during the outreach, 940 citizens or 904 households opted out of the program. I just want to bring this information to light. I know some aldermen use it for ward meetings, community outreach. I've used it for my public safety fair, smoke detector programs, and the feedback I'm getting just from the data and from the personnel out in the street is they hear this is a phone call from the city of North Chicago and they hang up. And I also put the hang-ups in there as well. So in total, we're not reaching currently 908 households because of our use of the system. So I just want to bring this information to light to the council. And ultimately, you're the rule makers, it's your decision. But I put this data in here. The most evident, what I can talk about, if you were here in 2011, was the complex severe thunderstorms that came through the city. At that time, we utilized the Blackboard Connect, and we'll never know, but it saved hundreds to thousands of lives that day. We were able to contact the residents to seek shelter, and in comparison now, I'm quite confident that we're close to, since that time, we've lost about 1,000 households because of overuse of the programming. I hate to be the bearer of bad news because I know a lot of aldermen like using it. The mayor and myself have used it for outreach. But the main intention of this program is for emergency notification. So I want to bring the information to you. My recommendation would that we wean off from the outreach program and use it for more of emergency management notification to our households.
Okay.
Question? Alderman Allen?
I just want to know that I won't be calling no more.
Okay.
This all won't be calling no more.
And there's other platforms.
No, I know.
We have the new website that's fantastic, up and running, social media, Twitter accounts. We have other ways of contacting our residents to come to our city functions. I think we do it a disservice if these people they hear my voice and they hang up when I really want to tell them to get inside of their house. So ultimately, it's your decision. I just felt it necessary to bring this data forward, and for some reason it wouldn't let me articulate a few of the ward meetings, but the growing trend is hang-ups. We're getting, significant amount of hang-ups, and this is the most troubling. 904 households opted out. I know I did a big push during community days a few years back to get people signed up. I continue to do so, but it's, again, disheartening when we get a few people sign up at community days and then 10 people opt out because they don't want to hear we're interrupting them for dinner or a function, and they just hit the opt-out button. And with that, the opt-out feature is all the way at the end of the message. So they're listening to it, and then they said they don't want to hear it anymore, and they opt out of the system.
Do we get rid of the opt-out?
Good question, I don't know. So I'll leave it in your hands. I believe 3 years back, I wrote up a policy. We went in the direction that we're going to still use it for outreach. If the board makes a determination that they want to just use it for emergency notification, they'll make a happy fire chief and potentially save some of our citizens during an emergency.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Alderman Fisher?
I feel as though it should be for emergency service only. That way, we might save some people's lives that might hang up from people, asking for you to do favors. So
Agreed.
it's something to think about real hard.
I agree with you, Alderman. And the aldermen that do use this for outreach, I'll be happy to help them, get the word out on other platforms besides the Blackboard.
Alderman January?
Thank you, Chairman. I just have to say thank you, Doug, for bringing this to our attention. This is something that I have been worried about for years. From day one, when I first heard that first outreach, I was worried that our citizens would opt out from the system and would stop listening and potentially cause some more serious injuries or even leading to death. And I didn't want to see that for the citizens. So I'm not surprised by this data. So again, thank you for bringing it forth. I appreciate it. And I really think outreach is important, yes. But I think we need to find other platforms to do it than for using our 911 emergency notification system for outreach. We need that for emergencies only, and that way people will know it's urgent, I've got to listen, I may need to seek shelter right away. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Val.
In these reports, we don't arbitrarily send it to the whole city. I have ward off Alderman Markham's ward or Alderman Allen's ward, so just their residents are getting it, so it's not like I'm bombarding all of the city of North Chicago with Alderman Mayfield's ward meeting. It's a distinct area mapped out that I've done mapping on to try to counteract some of this, but the numbers don't lie, and I think we can rebound on it. We have to do some, some outreach ourselves at community days and other platforms to get people to buy back into the program. We still have 5,000 residents enrolled in that, and or households enrolled in it, and I just hate to see that number dwindle anymore.
Okay. Okay, Dale, thank you very much. I don't think there are any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call?
Alderman Fisher.
Aye.
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Runnels.
Aye.
Alderman January.
I'd like to open up the Finance Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher.
Present.
Alderman Mayfield.
Present?
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
Two-item agenda. One, discussion of legislative budget. Two, discussion of audit engagement letter of Miller Cooper and Company. Item one, I'd like to open up my fellow alderman with a little statement. On your desk, I put in a draft. As you know, the whole idea of the line item budget thing for us aldermen is that we, as aldermen, should get into the fray, like the executive branch and the staff, to see what we can do to save some money for our city. So what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to ask you to do for me, take a look at this draft, and as we proceed with our discussion, I will ask each and every one of you to comment on this draft, okay? See what your feelings are. Well, we want to have a bunch of arguments about it, and then Ms. Portopilo is here to answer all of your concerns. Agree? Proceed, Ms.
Proceed. Good evening. You have a memo and with attachments, and just like to go through some of the requests from the last board meeting as it relates to the budget. The first being the insurance reserve. We currently have $217,500 and change in this account. It's a separate and restricted accounts, and it was opened up in 2016. So that is accumulated interest. We were asked to calculate what would be a contribution from the general fund to this reserve to meet any unexpected claim or occurrence that occurs. So what we did is we looked back over the last 12 months and calculated the average dollar amount of claims, which turned out to be about $78,000. This is going to be a rolling calculation. So every year we'll look at the preceding year. So the calculation came out to $78,000, and that is what we are budgeting in the administrative services department, and it's clearly noted for you as insurance reserve contribution under contractual services. So you'll see that. We did check with Owens Group, our insurance consultant, and they were in agreement with our calculation. So the way this is going to work, once the budget is approved, that $78,000, there will be a transfer on or about May 1st to go into the restricted account with a look back of the previous year. Next May 1st, it will be on the experience base between 5/1 of 2017 and 4/30 of 2018. So we'll always be kind of a year in arrears, but we'll have at least a calculation for the full year. Any questions on that? Okay, I've included for you also year year-to-date alderman expenses. We have a report attached to this memo, and it's noted as Exhibit C. We have a detail on the second page of that, and the first page just kind of gives you a summary as to where the expenses have gone. So if there's any questions on that, they have been separated by both travel and training and miscellaneous, and then also you'll have totals for all. Community days, one of the aldermen has asked about community days, and there's been a $10,000 contribution for the last community days, and the total not due was $27,364.85, and this was for electrical work done at the electrical wiring at the field. It leaves a balance of $17,364 and some change. Between the transfer and the revenue over expenditures from the last community days, the total will end up to be $37,830.65. What will happen following community days this year, on or about, usually it will occur in late fall when we finally have received all the charges and all the invoices. We will do the same calculation, and hopefully there will be another $10,000 to be returned to the water fund for the interim loan. One of the other changes that occurred with the when we did the legislative budget is that just like in other departments, specifically economic community development, where we kind of subdivided that whole department into functions, what we've also done, and you'll see that attached, is that we've created and separated out all the expenses for the boards and commissions. So the legislative department will have only legislative expenses, and the boards and commission will have their own. So it'll be a little bit more better to see what's attributable to each of those departments. With the changes, of course, the general fund and the insurance, I gave you a summary as to where we stand with fund balance with these new dollar amounts. And that is, if you look at the last 3 pages of the attachments of the memo. So this will bring our estimated fund balance to 35.49, which is still within our fund balance policy that you passed at the last board meeting. We've also, in the water, sewer, refuse fund, deleted all expenses with regard to vehicle purchases, and the total reduction of expenses was $237,500. As well as the E911 fund. We talked about Blackboard tonight, and Blackboard was previously being carried 50% in the E911 budget as well as the legislative budget. The E911 fund voted on their budget last week and eliminated that expense of $2,690 out of their budget. And we were able to absorb it without any other increase to the budget in the Administrative Services Department. So as far as budget changes, those would be in total.
Questions, anyone? Oh, no. Hold, will you? Now, let's get back to the legislative budget. As you can see, after I did some consultation with Daniela this afternoon and with some other folks. As you can see, the recommended allowance for each and every one of us is $9,500 to cover the expenses related to the alderman's official duties. If you and all of us agree with that, I would put this on for a vote next council meeting. Meantime, I would like, if you will, I'll start with Alderman Fisher. If you have any comments and concerns, Ms. Daniela is here to answer you. Alderman Fisher.
So you have the limit here of, what is it, 9,500? It also has the documentation down here at the bottom in reference to the use of that money that's issued to each person, right?
Right.
For the purpose of work with the city's business, board meetings and the like. So I don't see a problem with it myself.
Alderman Mayfield?
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I had talked to Daniela a little bit last week, so I'm good with it. It's fine as far as I'm concerned.
Alderman Evans?
I think it's a good thing, but also when you looking at just the legislator, make sure you look at, since you're the finance chair, make sure you look at all the departments and everything to make sure that not just the legislator is being cited, make sure all departments are being balanced off.
Alderman Allen?
So, I just wanna make sure we separate it, so when you go over that amount or whatever, I'm just curious, how you gonna do it?
This is for everything. Travel training, as well as your ward meetings, any other miscellaneous thing. This is your total.
So someone go over, they gotta get approval. I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, if you go over, I guess,
I'm just asking.
well, we'll find a way, okay?
Okay, I'm just asking, okay.
Alderman Markham?
Yes, well, that's one issue that I would like to have put in here on the procedure if individual does, or go over that amount. It should be something designated in here. The whole thing is fine with me. Okay. And then also, this should be for all elected officials in terms of, can there be something, does this go for all elected officials or just the legislature? Can it be incorporated into that?
This particular department includes only expenses for the council.
Right. So
The mayor, also an elected official, has
Right.
his own department,
but no guidelines like this. That's what I'm saying.
No, but we're all subject to, to the budget.
Right.
We certainly can make it a policy, an organization-wide policy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking that it should be. As Alderman Evans said, over across the board, it should be. But I think it should be, this is fine. I have no problem with this whatsoever. But it should be in there, what is the procedure for if Alderman is going to exceed that amount? And, what stops are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, the only way for you as a council to know where you stand on the budget is to be able to get reports. And those reports are available, can be produced at any interval. You want to look at it on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, and then you will know where those line items stand. And then ultimately, it will be you're the ultimate decision makers as to whether to approve, through the approval of the bills, whether to approve it or not.
So we won't have to ask for that every quarter, you or your office.
If you direct us to produce a monthly report, we'll make sure it's in the packet every month.
Now, you're interim, okay? And what I want is what you're saying and what you're doing, transferred if you're no longer here, transferred over to whoever else comes in. So they won't come along with a whole new ideology. So, how-
Right now, I'm developing policies and procedures for the finance department as to what, for not only different functions, but personnel, so that will be included in there.
okay, right. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, $9,500 is more than enough that I need. Alderman January.
Yeah, I think that the amount that's being allocated to us individually is sufficient. Should cover everything. I have to agree that we need an organization-wide policy regarding, very similar to this for all appointed and elected officials. You know, a procedure in place as to what does happen if one of us goes over. Because, again, we're giving a little bit more within the budget, which is fine because it's encompassing quite a bit. But again, you give that little leadway, guess what happens? Somebody will take that extra mile. You know, you give them a mile, they'll go another. So, I do think we need to put in place something that will happen. And I definitely agree, I think quarterly would be great for a review of, and looking at that, our specific budget for us, I think would be awesome. In any business, you're constantly looking at your budget, you're constantly going back to make sure that you're not exceeding in different areas. So I would expect that for all departments, not just us as well. But for, again, organizational wide, it needs to be done.
Department has already received monthly reports.
Well, you can receive them, but they need to be reviewed and looked at and make sure that we're not going over, because that's been where a lot of our issues have been. Not only in salaries and wanting, you know, more positions and hiring more, all the different expenses that are coming up. We need to keep that in mind, that we have buildings that we own that are aging and aging very rapidly, and there's gonna be need for that money to be there to fix whatever we need to. So I think if we all are very diligent in watching our budgets, we might be surprised what kind of money will be there at the end, and that we can you know, carry over. So thank you for your hard work on this. I appreciate it.
Alderman Mayfield.
Hi, Danielle, I had requested last meeting on a monthly basis. I think if people see what they're spending on a monthly basis, that they can always stay on top of it. And I don't know if council wants everyone to see everyone's budget, but I think each alderman should at least know what they have on a monthly basis. And then that way, you're less likely to. Because 1 quarter, 3 months, you may overspend. So if we can do it on a monthly basis to each alderman, what they have, I think that would be good. And everybody, you know, would be responsible and stay on top of it. And then if they want to do something that's going to exceed their budget, they would know that they're going to have to approach council and ask for additional funds. And then it would be up to this group to decide whether or not, you know, they see fit.
Anyone else? It will go on the council agenda next meeting for vote, okay?
For this particular.
For this particular,
Draft?
yeah, right,
Okay.
okay? Thank you, Dan. Draft and budget, right.
For the next meeting.
Next meeting. Thank you, Danielle.
And I have a question, Mr.
Yeah, okay.
I think that if we receipt everything that we do, so far as the activity for the city, if we're having ward meetings or whatever circumstances are, and receipt the comptroller in reference to how much money we spent, when you reach the limit, it's all over, if you have to go that far. Now, that's the way I see it.
Okay. Any further comments? Again, for a vote next time, and the other item?
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
And I'm trying to find the budget from when we last talked. In that budget that you had presented, I know it was a draft, I know it was quickly put together, but I don't recall seeing, in the actual items, what positions are listed under the salaries.
It's not in the draft,
Okay.
but you will have it.
Okay, we need that before we vote. I don't wanna be voting on this, seeing it that council meeting and then voting that same night. I need to see it before then.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Daniela, thank you very much. Okay. I'd like now to entertain a motion to adjourn the, I'm sorry. Oh, Miller, oh my gosh. Miller Cooper. Sorry.
That's okay. You have before you we have an engagement letter for this coming fiscal year's audit, still through Miller Cooper. The rate has remained the same, it's still at 60,000, and we would like to have approval to engage Miller Cooper for the next, for this fiscal year ending 4/30/18.
Questions?
Just got one. In the past, I know our other comptroller was talking about that we should look at other, like at Miller Cooper. Every so many years, they should change just so that way they can see. Have we ever reached out and looked at someone else besides Miller Cooper that do that, consultant work for us?
The problem was that it's so late in the game, and as you know, we have to have our audit to the state comptroller within 6 months of April 30th. There would not be enough time to do a RFP for auditing services for this fiscal year.
I understand that.
But the idea is to put it out there for the following year. To entertain.
From your experience, do you think you should always stay with the same, I'm just asking from your experience, you've been in it for a lot of years.
A lot of times what happens, you can keep, to what other municipalities have done, they've either gone to bid and gone elsewhere for a period of time. The other thing is if you're happy with the firm itself, that they change their partner in charge. So you get the same auditing firm, but you get a different staff.
Well, I'm trying to get somebody else to look at it different,
Right, you can look at it either way. I've worked under both, where we actually went for an RFP and changed auditors based on price, experience, and all of that. And I've also had the different partners work on with their own staff, same firm, different senior partner. So either way works. It's always nice to go out there and maybe every 3 to 5 years to do at least an RFP and see what response you get.
We've been doing this for 10 years.
There's only, as you know, with time, there's only so many firms that are out there that do government accounting. Government auditing is not very profitable for those firms. It's a lot of work, and they know they have to deal with, with governments who have limited resources, so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have something, just to go back to the budget.
Which one, the legislative budget?
No, the
Just like.
budget period that's coming up. When do we supposed to get the pamphlets for that? When do we supposed to get the booklet?
You already have one. It's the short version that doesn't have all the narratives because
Right.
the departments are still
I'm
working
saying,
on
okay.
that.
When do we
But it is the whole budget, to say the least. I have the staffing
No.
is already done, it just wasn't included at the time.
Well, the reason I ask, because I know if they still working on it, that means changes could happen while they're working on it. So that's why I'm asking, when will we receive it? I mean, I don't want to receive it that last week, and then we're voting on it, as Alderman January said. So that's why I'm asking, when are we supposed to receive it?
It's whatever, these are the only changes that were made, so you'll get an updated one rather than with, now that I know what direction you're going.
No,
Okay.
because I know last year, I was told something was changed, was not changed, and it was. I want to review that book.
Absolutely.
Before.
If you want it, I'll make whatever, now that these changes have been approved, I'll just put those pages in and you'll have an updated budget. You can have it by the end of the week.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll get it.
Thank you again, Daniela. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. I would ask that we would open up our city council meeting so we can do our presentation for the wrestling and the basketball team, because they're out in the hallway waiting. And then at that point, if we can adjourn and go back into our committee and to finish up. If that would be appropriate, Council?
Yep.
Nimrod, could you ask them to come through? Yep. Okay.
1 second, please.
better finish
Whoever's next,
I cannot.
Hold off if you.
You ready? I would like to open up the Economic Development Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Markham. Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
We have 2 items on the agenda, discussing of the Steens Family Foundation at Grant Place Leasing and pending matters. Mr. Nimrod.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be brief here. As you may know, we've talked about in the past, there's been more interest in the Grant Place building over on Sheridan Road. What we have here tonight is a nonprofit from the area who is interested in possibly taking over 3 spaces in there, in the Grant Place building. It is the Staines Family Foundation. It looks like it's spelled Steens, but it's Staines. They have interest in 3 specific units. Again, if you are familiar with the building, it would be the north side of the building along Grant Place, the road itself. The 3 spaces where Vista Health was, who recently left the city at the end of 2017 when their lease expired. They decided to move on to another location or track their operations. Secondly, is currently is being utilized as the police substation. And thirdly was the former Deegan Associates facility that we've had some other smaller tenants in there over time. What you have for you on your desk is a copy of an attachment there with some pictures for context. So if you're trying to get some understanding of where these units are exactly, the first page shows some pictures, and the second page shows just a basic breakdown of the space. As mentioned, obviously there's a section here that falls within the PD's jurisdiction right now. We are coordinating with them in order to see if this does follow through, that we would make sure that any of their operations that are currently functioning on that site could transition out accordingly. As far as this space here, the terms that are looked at right now would be an interest of a 3-year lease with 2 options to extend for 3-year periods, both of those extension options. It would be something that the build-out for this is actually relatively minimal, but the interested party is willing to finance that out of their own pocket. So that is something that's unique we haven't seen in quite some time.
Amen.
As of now, I believe the lease terms are looking at somewhere in the range of $6 a square foot plus CAM for an overall area of about 3,582 square feet. This is within range of what's existing as far as the existing tenants that are in the space. Again, it's a little bit different in that most of this space is already built out. There'll be some minimal reconfigurations necessary. If you can look at that diagram on the second page, it does show that there's a common reception in the blue outlined area. So as part of that, in order to allow for some pass-through between the spaces, there's an existing bathroom that will need to be removed in order to accommodate. And also there will be a small conference area added on the southeast side of the site in where the green space is. And so those would be the relatively minor improvements that are needed aside from opening the spaces to connect. And again, all of this would be at the time of the applicants. So with that being said, I do want to see if I can pass things over to Evan Westerfield. He is from the Staines Family Foundation to give you a little bit of update about his organization and their desire to relocate into North Chicago.
Mayor, Alderman, thank you very much for your time this evening. My name is Evan Westerfield. I'm with the Staines Family Foundation. The Staines Family Foundation is a small foundation. We've been based up until now in Chicago. As a foundation, really what we do is we give away money. That's what we do. We give it away for a particular purpose. Our purpose is to try to ensure that every young person, no matter where they're born, no matter the circumstance of their birth, have an equal opportunity to be successful in life. And so we give our money away to try to create conditions that lead to that. We've been in operation over 25 years, mainly making investments along those lines in communities in Chicago proper. About 2 years ago, we got involved here in North Chicago because of some of the work that was starting to happen in schools. And so, for example, we did some work to help open the Green Bay Early Childhood Center. It's now on the west side of the city. So, and we expect that we're going to continue to make these investments over a long period of time. And my trustees came to me and said, I think it's time we got a space in North Chicago, a place for our people, and to demonstrate our commitment to the community. I said, okay, but I only want to do it if it's more than just something for us, that if it's something that actually will bring some benefit to the community. So in working with the city staff, we came up with this option at Grant Place, which includes sort of 3 areas combined together. One of those areas, and they'd be combined loosely under one umbrella. One of those areas is for our people. The middle area, as you see, would be what we think of as a common meeting space, a space on the east side of town where if people wanted to hold a meeting, it would be a high-quality space for people to gather. So that might be for board meetings, that might be for Boys and Girls Club, it might be for Honor Flight as they gather for their events. From what I've heard from people is that that sort of facility doesn't exist in that location, and this would be of value to the community. The third space would be for some other nonprofit that would come into the community. What we've heard is that there aren't a lot of great spaces for those nonprofits to occupy, and so we'd like to be able to use our coming into the community as a chance to also support someone else to have a high-quality space there. So it's that opportunity to actually have a space for us, but to give back to the community is what makes this an attractive option for us. So we're looking forward to your comments and your ideas, but that's sort of who we are. Can I answer any questions?
Sure, okay.
No,
Anybody have any questions? I just got one. I met you a few minutes ago. You said you had that bag. That's our treasurer right there. You said he had a bag full of money back there. I want to make sure you get it before you leave. Okay, go ahead.
What's the size of your board?
Size of my board, I have 8 people on my board.
8 people. And your annual revenues?
So our net assets, what we have is a little over $20 million, and we give away close to $5 million a year.
And most of these revenues are raised from what type of events?
So we make money off our investments, our endowment, and then the trustees donate each year into the fund.
Okay, Alderman January.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. Just curious as to where are you currently located?
So the offices of our foundation currently are in Chicago, so they're down in the Loop. And the people that on my team that have been working up here, we've been for the last 2 years working wherever we can. So as people in the library know, I'm often in the library. We use the McDonald's. We use any space we can, or we can put up a laptop and get Wi-Fi. But it's time to have.
And again, has your foundation been bringing to our citizens here in North Chicago?
That's a great question. So what we've been focusing on, most of our work and most of our experience is in schools. So to date, we focused on schools. I mentioned the one example, the Early Childhood Center. This past year, we made significant investments to try to support an initiative that the school district brought to us to help train the teachers in the K through 3 schools around how to teach literacy. We made a big investment to support a transformation of the kindergarten classrooms into sort of a more play-based model. We've been making investments in the high school to provide more coaching for the students in terms of their post-secondary choices. All of these come to us from the school district. So these are not things that we necessarily chose, but as they come to us and say this is an interest or a want, we look at it and see if it's aligned with what we as a foundation are trying to achieve, and also whether we think it's likely to be successful.
So our school district has reached out to your organization, or was it your organization was kind of looking to expand and move into another area?
So it started with Dr. Martindale asking us for help back in June 2015, if I remember correctly, because he came to us about the Early Childhood Center, and I was looking for that August. And he was well-known and had a relationship with one of my trustees. And it started from there and started to grow. As they made more requests and it lined up, we made more investments. And we expect to make even more.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Alderman Roan.
Sir, I'm a board member of the National Museum of the American Sailor. And I just had to ask.
You got to ask.
With all that money, man, gosh, we are trying to raise a considerable amount of money to build a museum that will be dedicated to every enlisted sailor in the last 271 years. And I was just wondering if you guys go that way a little bit with some of that money.
That's a good question.
We'll have to have a conversation about that.
Oh, I'll give you my card. Thank you, sir.
Alderman Mayfield?
Evan, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate your foundation and the investment they have made in the community. And I appreciate the fact that not only is your foundation making the investment for you all to be here, but also for other nonprofits. So by taking this space, you're opening it up for other nonprofits to have a space to come and work.
Okay.
And, you know, as a city, we really appreciate that, and I'm sure District 187 appreciates that, but we're really happy that you guys are deciding to actually have a home here in North Chicago, and especially in Grant Place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're excited as well.
Got any Alderman Evans? Okay. Go ahead, Alderman Markham, you want to go ahead? He said he'll wait till you get.
Will your organization be hiring any residents from North Chicago?
Great question, Alderman. Right now, we don't have any residents in North Chicago in our organization. Obviously, when we hire again for any new positions, we will look for that to see if anyone suits the needs of our organization. We would love to hire someone from the community if at all possible.
Thank you.
Alderman Evans?
Well, Evan, from talking to you and discussing things with you, it seems like your organization will be a well fit into the city of North Chicago, and I hope you good luck. I wish you good luck in coming to this city, and I hope you and your company achieve what you're trying to do.
We will. Mayor, you guys,
No,
you already talked to him.
I've talked to Evan on many occasions, and the one thing is that is true is that Evan and Stain Family Foundation has really, to me, stepped up and moved into the community and has really done a positive in regards to the school district and the school and the students. So we welcome you here into the community, and again, to have now a true base. Though you're always welcome at our McDonald's and the library, but also have a space here that you can call home in the city of North Chicago. So congratulations on it, and hopefully we'll go ahead and get that passed. And I can't make out the tie, though.
This one is, he's joking with me. I only wear college ties. That's my thing, because that's what we do. We try to send kids to college. This is actually the University of Berlin.
Oh, my God.
Strange one, but someone sent me this, so I wear it.
If you ever see Evan, you'll always look at
Is it
his
a
tie,
tie?
and either the college itself is marked on it or colors of the college. So, but hopefully that'll resonate over the children that he's working with, to let them know that college is, an opportunity for them also. So, very good. Thank you.
I just got one question for you, Evan. You want one more question? No. Okay. You said you gonna do your own bill out in this building here. Do you have any contractors already? 'Cause we got contractors on the list in our office down in the building department. We got some minority contracts looking for work, and they just want a piece of the pie. If they can just get some of the work in our community.
Absolutely.
I'd love you to reach out to some of those. We got electricians, we got plumbers, we got the building contractors. I know you probably got some of your guys, but it'd be nice if you could bring in the community, if you could. I appreciate it. And can I get one of your business cards too, so we'll make sure before you go?
We absolutely will do that. When we get to the point that we're actually pulling up drawings and sending out requests for proposals, we will of course look at local talent.
Oh, that's gonna be on the agenda for 2 weeks.
Okay? We'll try to get it ready.
All right, thank you. Any more questions? Oh, Alderman Jamer.
Question, but it would be for Nimrod and Victor.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Yeah, my question is, with this, when they parted ways, we had paid for the build out there. Have we recouped that money that we spent for that build out, since they obviously have pulled up bricks and.
Yes, I
went
believe
to a
that
different-
the initial lease was in fact structured to ensure that we recouped all of the funding that we put out towards it. So at this time, at least, the good thing is we have that built out, which makes it much easier to find another tenant now. So yes, we did.
I get that, but my question is just about the build out for Vista.
Yes, we have
We have recouped every dime of that.
From the build out, yes, that is correct.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have anything on opinion matters. Guess I missed? Okay, thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we adjourn the Economic Development Planning and Zoning Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Reynolds, second by Alderman Mayfield. All in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
At this time, I'd like to open up the Public Works Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Present?
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Reynolds.
Here.
Alderman January.
We're gonna start with, presentation, discussion, official remaining of 14th Street from Green Bay Road, east to Sheridan Road to Audrey Nixon Avenue.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, council members. If I may, before we get into the actual item, Alderman Evans, I would like to simply say that item 8 has been withdrawn. That was not on the revised agenda put forth, so that is not a matter for discussion this evening.
I'll start to take it off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So item 1, at the behest of the mayor, we have proceeded with various agencies and entities with regard to knowing what it would take to rename 14th Street from Green Bay Road east all the way to Sheridan Road in honor of deceased Commissioner Audrey Nixon. We're pleased to provide a resolution that council has drafted this evening for adoption by the council. That
Could I intervene on that?
Absolutely.
Real quick? I would actually like to, again, I hate to say this, but hold it up one more time. We did present the resolution to the family. They made a couple of changes that they'd like to see in the resolution. I know that's what we were kind of waiting for. We did hear back from them actually late Thursday, so we really didn't get a chance to get it together and put back into the way we'd like to see it. Also, if we could, I'd like to have them present when we pass the resolution here on council. So with that saying, though I hate to hold it up again, I would like to hold it up for one more session. And it will be Audrey Nixon Boulevard. That is something that they had asked if that name could be on the, part of it. And like I said, there was a few changes they like to have seen on the resolution. So they brought those back to us. We just haven't had a time. I want to present this to you in a proper way. But the main gist of the resolution that you see in front of you is pretty much the way it will be set with just a few more changes on it. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We'll go to, item 3. We're gonna do the presentation, discussion, request to award a contract to CAM LLC of South Roxana, Illinois for 2018 pavement preservation services.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items 3 through 7, this is the first reading of each of these items.
Taking 2 off.
This evening, and as such,
Thank you.
Okay.
it is for you to review it and then come back next meeting with questions. So CAM LLC is the provider of pavement preservation services and products. As you may recall from previous presentations made by me and others, pavement preservation is the latest and greatest trend in transportation, if you will. There's a great emphasis on the preservation of pavement as opposed to the replacement of pavement. So previously it was mill and overlay on a regular basis. Now it's treat it chemically from the moment that you install it through the life of the pavement, and you'll get added years of service out of that pavement. I personally know that it does work. I've implemented that process for over 20 years, starting in the late 90s in Aurora Township, and it is with the exact same products that we're using today. So that is item 3.
Any questions? Yeah, with these contracts, do you have more than one?
So each one of these contracts, and great question, Alderman, were bid through either the Municipal Purchasing Initiative, a consortium of communities through, through the Northwest, I think, Council of Governments, or Lake County Municipal League. So they are all cooperatively or jointly bid and publicly advertised. And these are the low bidders.
2 through 5, you mean?
Pardon me?
2 through 5. I mean, 3 through 5. were
3 through
3 through 5.
Them bids for contracts.
Item 4, BP&T of Mount Prospect was the low successful bidder for hydrant painting services as bid by Lake County Municipal League. Superior Road striping, same type of thing. The low successful bidder through the Lake County Municipal League for pavement markings. Lake County Municipal League also extended the 2017 contract to Superior Road striping, or the current paver striper, for 2018 work. So we have a couple of options. So that other item will be added to your packet for the next reading of this.
I got one question. In the past, we always looked at the bids. We don't do that anymore?
So we did not do the bid itself. We didn't get all the bid results from all the agencies. We just got the low successful bidder.
Okay.
Alderman, we competitively bid this through a joint purchasing cooperative with other communities. So a different community was the head bidding organization, and they collected the bids on our behalf. So they have a list of all the results that's just not included.
Okay, we always had the bids, and we looked at the 3 bids or whatever. I haven't seen it, and I just want to know why now you explain it, but.
Are we changing?
Pardon me?
Are we changing from the normal to go
So
out
we
and get bids?
participated in a joint bidding process for these services.
Okay.
As opposed to writing the specs ourselves and advertising it ourselves and having our own bid opening.
Okay.
It's the exact same process,
Right.
but it's a group of communities that.
Doing it together.
Yeah, that
So is that what we're
formed
gonna
a
be doing?
cooperative.
I mean, is that what we're gonna be doing, or?
So we have opportunities to do different things through cooperatives, and we certainly want to take advantage of it, because oftentimes we get better pricing when there's more people bidding for the same work rather than one city. So we often get better pricing. So we
Okay.
do look at that as an option, but it doesn't always work that way. For instance, such as the state of Illinois joint purchasing.
So, Ed, you said this blacktop you've been doing this back a few years ago,
Yes,
but we haven't did it in North Chicago.
we did do it
That-
2 years ago, I think. We
that
did a
pea
small
grabber?
section.
Yeah.
Did a
Okay,
small section, and, I take my dog for walks at night, and one of the streets we did was Natoma. And I mentioned to Steve for he and his staff to actually look at Natoma, north of Argonne, where we did it. That surface is so tight, where the product was applied, and about 3 inches away from each curb on each side, it's untreated, and the asphalt is spalling, it's coming out, because it's not, the surface is not tight. The surface is very porous where the treatment was not applied. You have to walk it to see it.
oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay, could we,
In fact, the material that's in your packet has a couple reports in it and a recommendation, and the asphalt producers and the various associations are actually recommending pavement preservation the same year that the asphalt is put down. You think brand-new asphalt, it should be good, but they're actually saying that it's probably the most important treatment is the same year as a road is paved, to treat it initially with the preservation chemical, and then to apply or to sand it or apply some actual additional abrasives in it because it tightens up the surface of the pavement. And what we want to do with pavement is keep the water out of it. We want it to run to the sides, into the curbs, into the storm drains, and not go through the pavement and freeze and buckle the pavement. So it makes sense, something that I have not ever done, but when I read the report, it did make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Plus, it keeps salt on top of the pavement instead of inside it.
Any other questions?
So, I didn't, I guess it's in the packet, I'm sorry, the bid amounts were?
That's what he said.
So it was a bid amount based upon square footage, based upon quantity of yardage. So what we will actually do when we recommend some quantity of work to CAM is come up with a number of yards, square yards, because it's bid on a per yard basis. And so based upon, because of the various communities, there's a table in their bid spec that lists the anticipated expenditure for each community that participated in the bid. And based upon our dollars that I saw as being appropriate to allocate for this, I would look to spend somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000 for pavement preservation for 2018. So based upon that dollar amount, we can back into the cost per square yard, and that would determine, based upon the product and the price per square yard, how many square yards of pavement we can actually treat.
Do you have any guesstimate, how many blocks of that?
So my hope, Mayor, is to actually go back and treat the streets that we paved in 2014, streets that we treated in 2016. Then if we get a bid out in 2018, perhaps look at that first treatment for 2018.
Any other questions?
So this will probably come back in 6 weeks or so. This will definitely be from next year's budget.
Next year?
Yes,
Well,
next fiscal year's budget.
well, okay.
So item 6, one of the things that we found with the last ISO inspection was the city has not made an earnest effort towards valve exercising or hydrant flushing or water main flushing or hydrant exercising for a number of years. So to that end, I had reached out to a company that I knew did this work. In fact, they're probably the industry leader in it, M.E. Simpson and Company. And in 2015, they gave me a proposal for valve exercising and plotting of all the valves throughout the city, hydrant exercising and main flushing, that would run over a 2-year program. So the program, their contractor, their proposal is just under $20,000. I thought it would be prudent to bring it to council because it's something that is important for us as a city to establish a process for this maintenance work. So my staff has replaced approximately 28 or 30 valves over the past year and a half, year or 2 years. So what we found is that valves, which you typically don't exercise, you need them when you have a water main break. So the services provided by M.E. Simpson and Company will proactively go out and exercise every isolation distribution system valve and make sure that it works, that it seals, that it stops, and that it's lubricated. And more importantly, probably the best part of it is they have developed a process where they get the GPS attributes for the exact location of that valve, and then they layer it into our existing GPS system that Trotter and Associates has been working on over the past couple of years. So it's part of a bigger asset management system, if you will. So again, that's a proposal received from Simpson. There aren't many people that I know of that do this work, Alderman Allen specifically. So I can continue to go look for that for a competitor and get some additional quotes.
I know. Yeah.
but they are kind of the standard bearer, if you will, for that. Item 7. So this is an item that was part of our original boiler bid last year when we did work at the water plant to replace the 2 boilers. It was an item that Chris had not put into bid specs, if you will, but something that was offered up as an extra by the contractor when he was doing the boiler installation. So Solutions Mechanical was the contractor of choice based upon the bid for the boiler replacement work at the water plant last year in 2017. If you remember, that work was undertaken right when winter was approaching, and this additional thing for these air scrubbers was added kind of late towards the project, and it would have delayed completion of that boiler project, and I didn't want any additional wild card in that mix. I wanted the boilers fired up. I wanted them to heat the plant. We're already getting early season cool weather. And that plant, once that massive concrete, that thermal mass cools, there's nothing other than artificial heat that a boiler provides inside the plant to raise that thermal mass once it starts to cool. So it's very important for me at the time and all of us at the plant that those boilers be put back operational. So we chose to defer this to 2018. So Solutions Mechanical, this is basically the same dollars that they provided to us at the time of the boiler installation. It's slightly more expensive because they have some additional work to do now to totally cut open the boiler system again for the insertion of these elements. And what air scrubbers are, they're devices that are part of the hot water flow coming out of the boiler that remove the air from the water system. Why is air removal important? Well, a boiler works by hydronic heat, and that's hot water being fully filling each individual radiator throughout the building. You remember back in the day when we had boilers, our home boilers would blow off steam. Well, steam is the result of a radiator having air in it and boiling and relieving it. So water is non-compressible, steam is compressible, air is compressible. So you want to keep the air out of any fluid system. So these air scrubbers or scrubbers that Solutions Mechanical are proposing they will automatically remove the air from the system, ensuring that the boilers operate at maximum efficiency. Why do I want to have Solutions Mechanical do the work? Because the boilers are still under their warranty as the contractor that did the install. Their pricing, Chris believes, is fair. He negotiated the price down considerably from their first proposal, and so it's his recommendation and mine also that this be considered to award the contract for both for that work. It's just over $28,000, I think.
Any questions? Okay.
And it is budgeted.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. At this time. Go ahead.
And finally, at each of your places this evening, I left you a copy of a publication produced, entitled Drinking Water, produced by the Metropolitan Planning Council. The Planning Council is another planning agency, much like CMAP. And so what this particular publication is, and I'm going to spend just a couple of brief minutes drawing your attention to some very specific pages. But at the WaterCon that I was at with Steve a couple weeks ago, the part of the author's staff, Danielle Gallet, she actually presented this book during one of the sessions as a book that is written specifically for members of city councils and boards of trustees. So there are various documents that the group has put together, but this one is focused for you. It's to provide you as council members some information that you should ask, some questions to ask staff when we bring items to you, but more importantly, to tell you about water and what it does and what we should consider and how we should fund it. So very quickly, and it's very appropriate timing for this as we consider some major improvements to our water system, that we ask some of the right questions. I'm going to draw your attention to 3 sections of this. On page 56, there's a case study that reducing leaks saves money. And it happens to be with the city of Evanston. And our good friend Darrell King happens to be official with the city of Evanston. And so it's a case study where Evanston has undertaken an aggressive effort to eliminate leaks and save money in their system. Secondly, page 64, it's a case study regarding main replacement for the village of Westmont. And so the village of Westmont made a decision a few years ago to switch to lake water. They had been part of the DuPage Water Commission, and the DuPage Water Commission provided drinking water throughout much of DuPage County, and the DuPage Water Commission was contemplating a switch to Lake Michigan water. So prior to their switch to Lake Michigan water, they took a look at their infrastructure and said, hey, you know what? We've got some bad mains, and we think we're going to have a lot of water main breaks, leaks, when we switch to lake water because of the increased pressures. They, in fact, did have significant leaks. They did have a significant number of breaks, and this tells kind of their process for going through that analysis. And then finally, on page 72, and I think Alderman Markham and to the mayor and others, this is a case study on water rates. What do you take into consideration when you go out for a rate study? So as we look at improvements to our water system, improvements to the water plan, improvements to the distribution system, we need to look at the rates. We need to look at what it's going to take to fund the improvements we're proposing. And so we're going to undertake a rate study. And so this explains the process of what all you should consider when you undertake a rate study and the benefits provided by it. So I found it to be a pretty interesting read. It's not technical. It was written with a layman's perspective, so I think you're going to enjoy it. Certainly if you have some questions on it, put a bookmark in there, a thumbnail, a paperclip, and call and let's talk about it. We'll help you step through it.
If you go back right now and look at all the improvement we did and all the problem we had down there, we already under.
I'm sorry?
What I'm saying is, with all the improvement we did, like the flood we had down there, we remodeled, we did the boilers, we did this. And I'm just saying the race.
Pretty good shape.
I'm just telling you.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. So you look at that Woodman, Baxter and Whitman did a study for 5-year study, didn't they?
The most recent was done by the Wildan Group, I believe economist.com.
Okay.
And that was after the Baxter and Woodman study.
Okay.
Was the most recent one, and that was the one where the board. No,
it was the other way around.
The other way around.
Okay, I thought Baxter. Okay.
That's right. You're right, Mayor. So it was the other way around, and the rates that Baxter and Woodman recommended, 2011 was the last rate increase.
Probably about 11 or 12, somewhere in there. Probably 11. You might be right.
Yeah.
So, and we held off on that because we had a lot of citizens. So now you're talking about with all this improvement we done did in the last 6 years now, you don't have to have rocket science now. So, what do you? So they're gonna go back and look and see all the improvements we did. They're gonna put that into play, and you can justify why you.
So what you typically do is you propose the work that will be forthcoming, the current condition of the plant, the current condition of the assets, and you look at the capital that needs to be infused in the water plant for the next period.
5 years, just say 10
period,
10
right?
years.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah, so they put all the numbers in a bowl, hit the blender, mix it up, and out pops up, you know, some magical numbers. You know, it's important to stay on top of water rates, because as your infrastructure ages, you need to have sufficient funds on hand and anticipate expenses before they become capital expenses. So it's something that you want to look at every few years, whether you plan on moving them or not. It's just an exercise that provides benefit.
So I think you ought to engage the citizen. Before you even do the study, you kind of got to, you should engage the citizens about what all the improvements we done did in our plant. And maybe the mayor, next time you do a newsletter, because if they see all this money we done spent, then you don't have it. It's going to come from somewhere. We have some more emergency things. I'm just saying it'd be nice if we engage with the citizens and let them know what's going on. So down the road, you don't just say, come, we don't raise the rates up on people. That's all I'm saying. Because I know the direction we going. I'm telling you what's going to happen. I ain't got to be no crystal ball in front of me to know this. But I'm just saying, engage the citizens and get them some information what's going on in our community. That's all I'm saying here.
There's a lot of ways to look at rates, and you know, and fortunately, we have just received during calendar year 2017 the results of a statewide survey of water rates.
Oh,
and you know, that's just one of the many things that we'll look at.
Right.
But I'm not saying the rates need to change. I'm not saying they need to go up or down. But we need to, when we're looking at major infrastructure improvements over the next decade,
right,
we need to understand what the costs are and how we're going to fund them.
Right.
So they aren't burdensome to anyone.
But it's, the mayor always say, you don't want to kick that can, not kick that can at all. If you don't kick it at all, guess what? Down the road, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you.
Yep. So it's an exercise, you know.
I'm just keeping it real with you.
Just want to keep out there every few years. But I thought this book would be helpful because I think it puts it in pretty good terms.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman James.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to make this real quick, you know, you talk about engaging the citizens about the water rates. I think before we engage the citizens on anything more, increasing their money coming into the city, we need to look at our budget. We need to cut things. We need to stop using the water fund to pay for our bills. And I just, you know, before we engage in any conversation with our citizens, we need to look internally and start looking at us here and our budget and stop using the water fund. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Alderman Markham.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a question about, will this address the question that I asked you? Is that in here also?
So which one was that, Alderman?
That was a question in regards to.
The different rates that you want.
Right, that could be within our.
So that's certainly something that we can look at with the study. Because right now we don't have a tiered rate structure. We have a tiered rate structure only with the respect that we charge those that are outside the city limits more than we do all of the users within the city limits. To look at a tiered structure, you know, is certainly something that could be asked of the consultant, whomever it may be, when that rate study is undertaken. We have to be careful because we don't want to penalize those who support the city the most, which are in fact the commercial users. Oftentimes you will have water rates, for instance, for residential rates, you will have a disincentive for people to use more. In other words, you want to encourage conservation. So you will have a tiered structure based upon usage for residential properties. You'll have your fixed rate, very similar to what we have now. But then if you go up 2,000 gallons or up 4,000 gallons, the price per thousand or the price per gallon increases. In our case, it would be the price per gallon. So instead of it being so many dollars per 1,000 gallons as it is for the first, for all of our rate, you could in fact disincentivize higher usage. So the more you use, the more per gallon it can cost someone. So basically, you're encouraging conservation.
Is that the process we have now?
That's not what our structure has. There's no incentive or disincentive for anyone.
For anyone?
For anyone. But it's something that take this, that if you have particular ideas, now is the time to bring them forward.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to adjourn the Public Works Committee meeting.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Allen, second by Alderman Mayfield. Roll call?
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Runnels.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, hopefully we can make this quickly. I'd like to open the Building License Community Development Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
Present. I'd like, we have a 4-line item agenda. The first one is review discussion with contractor report, discussion of the Wagner relay, review discussion of taxi ordinance and pending matters. It was brought to my attention last week, and through some discussion with several people, we decided that it would be good to have a contractor come up, and I hope, Mr. Wallace, please come forward. Wanted to bring some information to the council to just make us aware of what is happening at a project here in North Chicago. So I will let him take the floor, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
My name is Mike Wallace, president of T. Wallace Black Company. We have doing business here in the city of North Chicago for about 40 years. And they got a project here in the city of North Chicago at the Marion Jones. It's about $50 million project. And there's no minority contractors, local minority contractors on the job site. And then also here at the Marion Jones, people that live in the Marion Jones projects has first preference on hiring. No people's working at the Marion Jones. So it was my concern, I wanted to bring it up. I had several meetings with the mayor and David Northern, Lake County Housing Authority, and I submitted bids like 3 different times, and I didn't get the contract. So I'm here, that's not speaking for my company, but I'm speaking for the community. I'm speaking for the young people that need jobs here in North Chicago. You got a $50 million project, no minority contractors. I need some action here. I need, you know, something done here. You know, so that's why I'm here today, to speak out, to see if something can be done about this. Then also, I got Stephen Claiborne, he would take over for me now. Come on, Stephen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If I have a few moments, I just want to read this on behalf of Mr. Mike Wallace and Wallace Blacktopping. It said the city of North Chicago has a $50 million project. There are no local black minority contractors on the job site. People that live in the Marion Jones projects add first preference on hiring. When this project was first put forward, I represented Mike Wallace and Wallace Blacktopping, and in that initial meeting, one of the things that was stipulated to all minority contractors, general contractors, everyone, that there was a home rule by the city of North Chicago that on any projects, I think it was 20%, had to be allocated for minority, DBE, MBE contractors. With 30%?
30.
30%, right. Right. We had a meeting at Falls Park back in April 2017, which was for subcontractors, opportunities for disadvantaged businesses, and Section 3 business and hub zone businesses. There were several meetings after the April meeting. Even though it was presented to us that those contracting fared, that 20% or a minimum of that project would go to local minorities, no contracts, regardless of promise for business opportunities, has ever been presented. And as Mr. Wallace had mentioned, And I was in those meetings. I represented the company. I've sat down with Mr. Wallace at his request, came and met with the mayor, met with Mr. David Northern, went to Lake County Housing Authority in Grays Lake. And one of the things I asked, and I never got an answer for Mr. Wallace, if there is a rule by the city of North Chicago that there has to be 30% or residents first, when you have one of the largest projects in the city of North Chicago, how is it that somebody from Champaign County or somebody outside the quadrant can come in and take advantage of a $50 million project and the local persons, local contractors are overlooked?
Thank you. So there's a huge issue here. If our people and our local companies, our local contractors are not getting business, how are they going to continue to stay in business if we're not putting our leg up, our efforts up, and helping them to get their contracts? They're bidding contracts right and left. And this is not the first time I've heard this. I've heard this for many years, that the minority contracts are being overlooked. And now they're especially being overlooked here in North Chicago. And we have projects upon projects here within our city that are coming forth. And we need to support our minority contractors. I'd like to open the floor to the mayor. And Mayor, can you please let us know what is the plans to help these contractors to get the awards for the bids? What are we doing? What are we doing about this certain project over on the old Marion Jones land? I know it's run by HUD. I know it's the Lake County Housing, but again, it's within our city limits.
And I think you just answered your own question, Alderman. It's not our project. We have no control. Me and Mr. Wallace, we worked very hard to try to get him part of the contract. But again, if it's not our project, I have no control over it. It's Lake County Housing. It is Lake County Housing. Lake County Housing is the one that issues the contractors. The Benoit Group is who they brought in as a developer of that site. And through them, they brought in, who's the contractor? The Carlson Construction are the contractors on that site. We have no say on who is awarded those bids. Though we do. Though I worked with Mr. Wallace, matter of fact, they brought in a minority contractor to do the roof on that site.
Locally or outside of our city limits?
Minority contractor they brought in to do the work, and the whole project got shut down because the union contractors walked out off the project. And that was everyone from the plumbers to the electricians to the carpenters, the utilities, the gas company, the phone company. They walked off the job. They were able to negotiate through Pastor Gas to be able to at least allow that minority contractor to come back in and complete that work. But at this point, again, being that this is not a job that North Chicago controls. This is not a grant place that we had control over. We had a control over Grant Place to try to bring the minorities on site because that was our job to contract out. Lake County Housing is over that project. We don't have a say. That's just like anyone coming in on a private to build Family Dollar. That's a private contractor coming in to build it. We request to have minority contractors on that site, but we can't force them to do it. So I'm not sure where you're getting all your information from, Alderman January. but as a community and as a city, we had a meeting just Thursday with all the contractors, just to try to keep that project on track through HUD, through Carlson Construction, through
Benoit Group.
just to make sure that their project stays on track. But it's their project and not North Chicago. We have not spent one dime on that project.
I understand that, Mayor, but again, we have in place that there is to be 30%. They also have, will you let me speak? I let you speak. Let me speak.
But please tell me, how is it our project?
It is our project also because we're partnering. It's within the city limits. So we should have some say-so. They have to pull permits from us to do building. So, yes, everybody does. Everybody does. So it's still a partnership with the city because they still have to do that. So what I'm saying is they also have in their grant money, I'm sure that is written, I haven't read every piece of their grant paperwork, but I'm sure it's in there that they're supposed to have a certain percentage of minority contractors. Whether it's union or not, union doesn't dictate everything in this world. So what I'm saying is we need to do better for our minority contractors out here, especially our local folks who are in desperate need of work out here. And we need to support them. And if we have to, I'm all for it. And I'm not one to try and hold up anything or hold up progress. But if we need to take a stance and put on our big boy pants and start standing up and protecting our city and protecting our citizens, then we need to do that, and we need to maybe pull permits for a bit and say, we stop the project right now, here and there, until you look at these minority contractors. We need to do something. We need to step up. We need to stop letting people come into our city and dictate to us how they want things done. I have sat here for the past 2 years and listened to these contractors come in, these developers come in, demanding this, demanding that, and we kowtow to them. We need to stop. We have ordinances in place. We have rules. We have regulations in place. We need to start enforcing them. Yes.
I think
Simon,
before
go ahead.
Alderman Fisher, I think Alderman Markham had to, I'm sorry, but your meeting.
It's my meeting, that's correct, Mayor.
And he's had his.
I understand that, but so did our city attorney too. But excuse,
Go
if you'll
ahead.
hold on a second, Alderman Markham, go
Let the
ahead.
city attorney go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Go ahead.
To which regulations are you referring?
There is ordinances in place.
There's no ordinance on the city code that requires private projects.
Well, a lot of our ordinances have been misplaced too, so we'll go there. And I'm not gonna argue that piece tonight, so.
You brought it up, Alderman.
I'm not gonna argue. I don't wanna argue.
If you brought it up,
But
then
I'm
question it,
I'm
where's that?
just letting you know where I stand and what my thoughts are and what our city needs to do to move forward.
Something, but when he questions
So
you,
go ahead, Alderman
you
Markham.
don't wish to address it.
So-
Very good. Just asking.
You're out of place, Mayor, for talking.
My emphasis is that, as far as the project itself, because Mr. Northern came to us, presented this project and stated, because it was asked on several occasions about minority contractors being participating in this. And he said that that was their endeavor, all of that, when they had the tent up out there and they did the groundbreaking, the same thing was addressed. Why haven't any of his staff or representatives been brought into the council to address this situation? I know that, quote unquote, the mayor and the city can't, quote unquote, do things about it, but I know that the office of the mayor has some weight to at least address this situation. and someone should have been brought in to state why they haven't reached out to minority contractors. Why are we all of them, and I'll speak for myself, really just hearing this in this venue? No one has brought this to us to say, this is what's happening. It's never been on any of our agendas since that. All that has been brought to us is, oh, they're in progress, they're this, they're that. And then every time someone comes in, as Alderman January said, everybody comes in here and tells us, oh, we're gonna do this. They never use any of the contractors in this city. When they come in, they bring in who they want to bring in. But they stand here and make out as though they're going to do this and that for the residents of this city. And every time they come in here, since I've been sitting on this council for 2 terms, they come in and do all of this exaggeration about what they're going to do, and then the people who are actually a part of this community never get a piece of the pie. And they should have been brought in here to address this to this council, because they are in this city. Yes, it's a federally funded program, but there are stipulations federally that state that there must be a certain amount of minority contractors in a project. And we're basically a minority city, but we've got all of these other people getting opportunities, and we ourselves as residents get nothing. So nobody who's speaking for the residents of the city. I understand that the office, the city itself may not be able to do certain things, but you know, this is politics. Come on, give me a break. Something can be said.
Hold on 1 second.
Well, I was talking.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, sir. So I feel I ought to be able to finish.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to get her attention.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Are you, Alderman Markham?
I'm finished. Go
Are you
ahead.
finished? Okay. Yes, Alderman Fisher.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a little statement about, there was some people that came from the county that was right here this year, and made a speech about the same thing that we're talking about so far as minority contractors. He made the statement at the time that he couldn't get any minority contractors. Now, is there anybody in the room remember that?
Yes, I remember that, but here we have
They were for the
a
county.
gentleman
Somebody's
come
not telling the
forward.
truth.
But the lawful type of situation, I think, we'll ask the city attorney, if they are the head honchos in the situation, then the law applies to them as well as anyone else. And if it's contractors that are needed, or, you know, black contractors, or whatever the situation is, could be Mexicans, who knows?
Minority, correct.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, I would like to know the law, even with the county, if you can help us a little bit.
If I can find out how it's being financed and what the source of the money is, and if there's earmarks tied to that source of money, then we can find out what rules apply.
There you go.
But we don't have rules here in the city of North Chicago that apply to projects that aren't financed with our money.
Does any other alderman have any questions, concerns? One thing Alderman Markham, just to answer your question, my understanding is there's been multiple discussions that have occurred, trying to go through the proper channels to get things taken care of and make people aware. So obviously that has taken some time. And as I said, this was just brought to my attention last week. It has been brought to the attention of several other people here who have done nothing to bring this forth. So here again, here's your transparency. Looking at what's going on out here, showing what is happening. And yes, I do agree, we need to bring the county back in and say, hey, what's happening here? And let them have a talk, you know, talk with us as well. Because obviously something's not getting done. And I think that that would be probably the best thing, is to continue the discussion and to have, I know Mr. Northern has taken a position elsewhere, and I'm not sure when his last day is.
30th of March, he left.
He left already. That's what, okay, that's what I thought, that I had heard correctly. So we would need to find out who is now taking his place and in charge and have them come forth and report.
Attorney to go and take care of that business with the county. That's simple. Bring back the rules. Let us know what's happening.
Yeah, and he's gonna charge us for that too, and we could just have the county themselves come forward and talk with us and let us know where the project is, what's happening. And we're, you know, we can bring up this issue that's just been brought forth. No,
Oh, you're not gonna,
not yet. Hold on, there was another Alderman Allen.
Yeah, I just want to ask Mike, Mr. Wallace, could you come up to the? I know you and I talked a little bit about some of the things that you was talking about the blacktop. One question I know for sure, you guys had meetings 2 years ago starting this project, right?
Correct, yeah, we want to make sure that the same thing didn't happen like it did on 22nd Street.
And I think they had Dave Norton, the mayor.
Make sure that,
So-
we got some minority participation over here with this $50 million project.
Right.
The other one was $22 million, and there was no minority participation on Martin Luther King 22nd Street.
now, we did have, yes, we did. We had flaggers, we had truckers out there.
But that was only like
And we,
less
and
than
we, and we
1%.
had the street sweeper also.
Yeah.
Less than 1%.
But I'm just trying to find out,
We had minority contractors on that job.
did we drop the ball in somewhere in that situation when they had the meetings? Did you guys bring the same information to Dave Norton at that meeting at
Oh,
Falls
yes,
Park?
every meeting that we had, we stated that we didn't want this situation to happen.
And what they,
And they agreed that it wasn't gonna happen again, and then at the last minute it happened.
And let me just say also, me and Mr. Wallace, when that bid came out,
Yes.
and they came back to me and said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your bid was higher
Correct.
than the others.
Right.
And we even worked to try to get
Lower
the bid to come down. We asked them to hold off on releasing it, so you could resubmit your bid.
I should remit this a bid 3 times.
okay, that's why I want to make sure that this came,
I mean, I worked with you to try to get that
Oh,
bid.
yes, you did.
Yeah.
Don't say it, yeah.
but that's why I want to bring this out. I want to bring this out so you won't think it's just all one-sided here. I remember,
I called
because,
David up, I called,
Yeah.
The Benoit group up, I said, can you please hold off before you issue the contract, because Mr. Wallace is gonna resubmit.
right,
They did that.
Oh, not cutting you off. Got another question. You know, they said best faith effort.
okay,
You know, that's what they're stating in there. You know, they kind of changed the,
okay,
you know, the phrases of the bids at the last minute. But if it's your best faith effort, and I'm the only local minority contractor that bidded on Phase 1 project, that's a slam dunk. That means
Okay.
that best faith effort, if I'm the only one that submitted a bid,
okay.
as a local minority contractor, then they should accept that bid.
Well, I gotta go back to the
Well,
lawyer.
now,
I don't
The
know.
only thing, they came back to me go and say, well, we're under guidelines in regards to trying to meet numbers on the bid, on the project as a whole. I mean, in regards to funding, I mean, they, that's why we had you to resubmit your
Right.
bid at a lower price to see if you can get in.
Right,
I mean,
that's what I did 3 times.
3 times,
3 times.
okay.
But again, why would you have to lower your bid 3 different times?
Because the person that had the bid was a lower bid. But we held off to try to get you to get your bid at least within his.
Within reason, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
I only can go so far with it.
You know, a local minority contractor, us, we can only bid so low.
Okay.
Because the bigger contractors, they got the
All the
material
equipment.
cheaper, they got the rental cheaper.
Right.
The trucking cheaper, so we automatically gonna be 5 or maybe 10% higher. You know,
Right.
you know, because other than that, we can't compete with the larger company because they got the brakes on everything.
Okay,
So I
okay,
submitted a respectable bid.
okay,
So all we want the council to do is just do the job and let some minorities be out there. I got 5 or 6 guys that's living here in North Chicago, ready to go to work. They ready to go to work. Mr. Wiles, I thought you got the contract. I said, well, I thought I did too. That last minute I didn't get it.
But I work with you.
You know,
I did work with you now.
okay.
you even had some people's ready to go.
I know.
Yeah, but
So-
head attorney, like he said, check it out and get back with us. I'd like to see what,
Let's do something about it. What about, North Chicago? Don't they got a 20% ordinance saying they
I don't
want
know. You have to
local minority contractors?
I think we do have something, and we could check
Yeah.
with it.
You know, maybe we
But it's
put
our-
that in
but it's
place.
But it's for our project, if we was to construct or do something within our own city, whether it's rebuilding our city hall or something that we control, yes, those things come into play. But this isn't our project.
but this woman was that woman was from Baltimore, Maryland. She was up there talking at the National League of Cities. She said that she put it in her ordinance. I got a card at home, and we can find out how she said she already got the roadmap already. She's all you have to do is just call me up. I send it out to you, let you look at it. She made those people follow those. When she got ready to get on those boards, she said she was sitting on that board with them.
The money, the Minority and Women's
Excuse me.
Business Enterprise.
Excuse me, I'm the chair.
Sorry.
I would ask that everybody respect the chair when we're having discussion, and there's a certain protocol, so please do respect the chair. Thank you. Go ahead, Simon.
Thank you. The Minority and Women's Business Enterprise incentives or requirements are conditions on receiving money.
Okay.
The federal government has limited authority, but it has great power on how to spend its money and what conditions it places on how it spends its money. The same is true for the city. The city can't necessarily force private parties engaged in a private contract to hire a minimum number of minority or women's business enterprises. But if the city's spending its own money, it can choose how to spend its money and place conditions on how it spends its money. And so when you're saying that someone at the National League of Cities adopted an ordinance,
Right.
it's very possible that that ordinance governs how that city spends its own money. It doesn't necessarily mean that that city adopted an ordinance governing every private contract that
Okay.
goes on within that
I'll look at
community.
that.
So can you guys take a vote on it, or what can we do?
There's, let me just say this. At this point, there's really not a whole lot we can do. The only recommendation at this point has been, is what I brought forth, is we could pull the permits and hold them to further try to maybe push and discuss getting local minority contractors in. But that's up to the mayor. I don't have control over that. I do agree that we should have our attorneys look into what can we do, what is going on at the Lake County level that could, for the federal programs, as to how they function and where the money is coming from, and maybe there is some stipulation within there. And that's something that our attorney would have to look into. I mean, this was just kind of sprung on him, so it's not fair to him to ask all these questions of him, and he's not had time to prepare. So let him look at that, and I would like to bring, if Victor could reach out, or the mayor maybe could reach out to whoever is in charge now of Lake County Housing, whoever's taken Mr. Northern's position, and have them come forth. And let's see what they have to say again. Maybe hearing from us and how upset we are that they're not using our local contractors. I don't know. It might help. I don't know. But I'm willing to try whatever we need to,
Right.
to at least put our best effort forward and stop letting people walk all over the city of North Chicago. Yes, sir.
Thank you. In conjunction, don't go and leave this, in conjunction with Mr. Wallace, if I'm not mistaken, this was a two-part project.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say it again, my name is Stephen Claiborne. I was born and raised here in the city of North Chicago. I went to Central School, I went to Neal Junior High School, I graduated from North Chicago High School in 1980. Many of us who here, we've known Marion Jones, been here a long time. And all that property over there was what they call urban renewal. What I don't understand, number one, is when did it turn from government to private? When did that become private property when it's all these years it was urban renewal property, it was not private property. Because if it was private property, any developer could have came in here and developed it down through the years. Number two, when they demolished Marion Jones, there was a developer or a gentleman from Chicago. When you say bid, anybody just giving a bid, wasn't there a gentleman from Chicago who came out and demolished? And then there were local minority contractors who worked for this general contractor, but after he got paid from the housing authority, he filed bankruptcy, and a lot of these minority contractors never got paid. That was the first phase of it. So my thing is, if the city of North Chicago is going to say we have no control, then people can come in here and run ramrod through everything. And that's what they've done.
That's true.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for coming out, and we will continue to put our best leg forward. Yes, Alderman.
Who's in charge of the project now, since Mr. Northern is no longer there?
That
Do we
I don't
know?
know. I don't know. Have anyone heard who's in charge now?
Certainly we've heard, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead,
But
Alderman
this
Fisher.
gentleman stood right up there and gave us a from Lake County, talked to us in relationship what the project was all about and everything. He was sitting right there.
But that was under David Northern, wasn't it?
It was Lake County.
Yes, sir, but I want to know.
David Northern was still here.
Since Mr. Northern is no longer there, who is head of that project now? Who's
I
overseeing?
have no idea.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
That's what we're trying to find out.
I'm not sure
So-
Keelan or the other young lady.
We could, like I said, Mayor, if we could, either yourself or Victor, maybe Victor can reach out to them and ask them to come to next council meeting. We can put it on economic development for further discussion, just even an update of what's going on and where they are with the contractors, and hearing from them again, because I do remember them standing up here and saying they couldn't get any minority contractors, and my jaw just dropped, because I know for a fact that Mr. Wallace had bid, and I knew there was at least a couple other people too that had bid it. So I had a problem with that, but it was not the night to address it.
I have one
So,
more question.
yes.
Are they picketing there? So I was told that there's people picketing out there.
They're no longer picketing. They resolved that issue.
Oh, they did, okay.
Okay, thank you,
They were
Mayor.
able to allow, though, the roofers,
That was the
That was
picketing
that
was about,
issue.
not about this issue?
No.
Right.
This is different,
And they
yeah.
got that resolved, so they were able to come in and finish doing their job.
So again, I think
I
what I'd like to do is, or even if, Bobby, if you can reach out to them, whoever, and put it on your agenda next council meeting, maybe hopefully by that time, our lawyers will have been able to get a little bit more information, a little bit more background, and then we can have another discussion and just let them know
Sound
how
good.
upset we are
Yeah, I'll
with
do
what
that.
we've been hearing. And we'll try. I'm not saying we're not going to try. We don't have a whole lot of power, but we do have some power. We're not 100%, but we do have some avenues that we can use. So, with that, I want to kind of finish that discussion if everybody's okay, and we'll move on. Sorry. Okay. The second item on my agenda is the Ragnar Relay. That will be hosted here May 18th at, let's see, it looks like it starts at 5:30 a.m. setup time. It's going to run through 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's a relay. It's a run that they do every year. Everything looks in place. I see Chief has signed off on it. And it's going to be using the Robert McClory bike path from south to north. So if you guys know where that is, they'll be going through that area. So I'm sure they would like some encouragement and cheers. But again, that will be on May 18th. And that'll be starting at 8:30 a.m., going till 6:30 p.m. Is there any questions from council or comments regarding the event coming up? All right, and then the next agenda item was the continued discussion of the ordinance for a taxi. We are just about done with the taxi ordinance, updating it. I just had a chance finally, because I had some events take place this last week that took me away. But I looked at the ordinance that has been drafted. It's not ready to come to council yet. I don't know, Mayor, if you've had a chance to look at that draft as well.
We've got it over to you for your review.
Right. There's still some things I think we should look at and change in that ordinance. So I will be in touch with you and Chief Perez about that. So we will definitely have something ready for you at next council. So we'll continue, Madam Clerk, to put that on for discussion. But I wanted to let you guys know we are got it just about ready, okay? Any questions about the taxi or any comments or any thoughts that you guys have about the taxi ordinance at all? Okay. Last thing on my agenda is pending matters. I don't have anything unless council wanted to bring something up. Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the community license building. Oh,
I just had, Madam
sure.
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Okay, the issue with this, who's gonna bring this back up? Who's gonna bring some information to us?
I'm moving it to the Economic Development
Okay.
Committee. And Bobby said that he would chair and get a follow-up with.
So we will have some representation coming
I
here and
requested
address
for
this?
next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Hopefully they got time in their schedule to come.
right,
you
that's what I'm
know.
saying, I can't say what, but I'll,
But at least put it on for discussion. Maybe the lawyer might have something.
but I still like to
let
put
us
it back
know.
on, okay.
I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Again, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
the-
moved.
Oh,
Sorry.
moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans. Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.